where he's suggesting the president has dementia. I'm not even going to read it, but it's basically him questioning Grok and asking, what is the byproduct of dementia? My question is, does this grow his base at all?
Resulta que ahora el escándalo de la salud de Trump es algo que ni siquiera los medios propagandísticos MAGA pueden ocultar, pero más aún que ocultar. Son capaces de hasta dejarlo en evidencia, de delatar su evidente deterioro físico y mental. Pues así es, señores, este tema salió al aire en Fox gracias a un presentador que de repente decidió exponer a Trump utilizando nada más y nada menos que las propias palabras del gobernador de California, Gavin Newsom. Antes de que entremos de lleno en cómo Newsom, a través de Fox, dejó en ridículo a Trump y terminó exponiendo públicamente este declive mental, quiero que primero vean a una de las analistas liberales de Fox aplaudiendo la burla de Newsom. Y se trata de Jessica Tagloff. Escuchemos.
As far as the Gavin Newsom of it all, he is not imitating him. He is mocking him. He is holding up a mirror to what Donald Trump does and how he communicates. How ridiculous these 3.5-hour-long North Korean-style cabinet meetings are.
Why was that ridiculous? You can't just say ridiculous and not say why.
Okay, if I came to a meeting, if your team for Gutfeld sat around, right, and you said, I have this idea for a joke, and they said, I've never met a funnier man than Greg Gutfeld. I think Greg Gutfeld is the funniest person.
But you don't have to watch it.
Se me hace curioso cómo es que estos republicanos frágiles, que se hacen llamar los anti-woke, pero que actúan como la versión MAGA más sensible posible, siguen sin entender que lo que tienen enfrente es un espejo. Han vivido tanto tiempo dentro de esta burbuja MAGA que cualquier crítica directa o indirecta o les pasa por encima y no son capaces de soportarla. Y eso es exactamente lo que está ocurriendo con Trump y su círculo. Dicen que Gavin Newsom está siendo falso, que intenta copiarse a Trump. En realidad lo que Newsom está haciendo es mostrarnos lo ridículo que es Trump y lo enfermizo que resulta este culto MAGA que lo siguen ciegamente. No es que quiera escribir en mayúsculas histéricas como lo hace Trump, porque sería absurdo pensarlo. Lo que está haciendo es demostrarnos y señalarnos esta hipocresía. Y de paso, sacar a relucir los pésimos datos de criminalidad que Trump se niega a reconocer en los estados republicanos. Pues bueno, justamente ahí es donde Newsom continuó con su troleo antes de que entremos al tema de la salud de Trump. Vean esto.
If he is to invest in crime suppression, I hope the President of the United States would look at the facts. Just consider Speaker Johnson's state and district. Just look at the murder rate. That's nearly 4 times higher than California's in Louisiana. This is Speaker Johnson, 4x higher. I'm just offering, again, you've not seen this on Fox News, so President may not be familiar with these facts. So I want to present some facts to the President of the United States. And imagine this is alarming to the President to learn these facts. Mississippi leads the nation as the #1 murder state in America. Imagine this in particular may resonate with the President of the United States. It's got a murder rate 180%. 180% higher than Los Angeles. It's interesting. LA has more people. These are all per capita numbers. More people than Los Angeles. Perhaps the president could deploy the National Guard in every corner of Mississippi. And the fact remains, if the president is sincere about the issue of crime and violence, there's no question in my mind that he'll likely be sending the troops into Louisiana and Mississippi to address the unconscionable wave of violence that continues to plague those states.
Como siempre, pues Donald Trump se concentra en cualquier otra cosa menos en cumplir con lo que prometió en su campaña. No está reduciendo el crimen, y es más, los estados republicanos se están llenando de violencia, y si quitamos de la ecuación a las grandes ciudades demócratas, que según ellos son las culpables, los números son prácticamente lo mismo. Por eso cualquier intento de querer negar la crisis de salud cognitiva de Trump es igual de ridículo. Newsom ha sabido jugar con esto, y lo mejor es que consiguió que Fox hablara del tema. Logró que discutieran en vivo que Donald Trump muestra señales claras de deterioro mental.
As the polls demonstrate and bear out, I've got to get your reaction to this. This is Newsom on X. He posted this, and it's really, it shows you the level that he's at, where he's suggesting the president has dementia. I'm not even going to read it, but it's basically him questioning Grok and asking, what is the byproduct of dementia? My question is, does this grow his base at all?
Ese post de Newsom, al que hacen referencia, ¿no? Es uno en el cual Newsom preguntaba a Grok, que es la inteligencia artificial de X, la plataforma de Elon Musk, y le pregunta lo siguiente: las personas con demencia repiten mentiras una y otra vez, y bueno, la inteligencia artificial respondió que sí, que es un síntoma común, y que claramente estaba haciendo alusión a Trump y a sus comentarios delirantes sobre abrir el agua en California. Bueno, Newsom consiguió que Fox hablara directamente de si es que Trump está sufriendo demencia. Y aquí viene el dato interesante, señores, porque esto es exactamente lo que los demócratas tienen que hacer con frecuencia. Podríamos considerarlo como una inmersión en la locura, que es utilizar el mismo lenguaje absurdo de la derecha para obligar a que se hable de temas reales. Y ojo, no es que Newsom quiera expresarse siempre de esa manera, ¿no? Veamos como una estrategia. Una en la cual puede parecer exagerada, pero funciona. Muchas veces los demócratas se limitan a hablar con miedo, cuidando demasiado el lenguaje de sus palabras, tratando de querer sonar perfectos, y al final terminan sonando como los políticos robóticos, que al final no dicen nada. En cambio, cuando se habla con autenticidad, con errores, con frases coloquiales, eso es lo que conecta. Por eso es que, si ustedes se dan cuenta, clips como los de Newsom, los de Jasmine Crockett, como cuando llama gobernador Hot Wheels a Greg Abbott, son los clips, son los videos, son las palabras que terminan viralizándose. A algunos puede parecer ofensivo, pero lo que realmente se difunde es la crítica de fondo, y es como los republicanos están recortando derechos y están destruyendo comunidades enteras. Lo mismo está sucediendo ahora en Fox. Por primera vez hablando sin filtros de que Trump está en un declive cognitivo, y todo esto gracias a que Newsom rompió el molde. No se trata solo de Newsom, también hay más políticos que hablan muy claro, tal cual como lo hace Bernie Sanders desde hace años. Escuchen esto.
Dangerously, President Trump and Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy are wreaking havoc on our already broken and dysfunctional healthcare system. I love the slogan. It's a great slogan. Make America healthy again. Fantastic. Unfortunately, the Trump administration is doing just the opposite. You don't make America healthy by throwing 15 million people off the healthcare they have, which is what Trump's big, beautiful bill does. You don't make America healthy by, as a result of these Medicaid cuts, shutting down or creating a decline in services for hundreds of nursing homes, community health centers, and hospitals throughout the country. But it gets even worse than that. Secretary Kennedy has just fired the head of the CDC, Dr. Susan Monterez, who has been on the job for just a few weeks. Her crime? Well, she refused to be a rubber stamp for Kennedy's anti-vaccine conspiracy theories. That is her crime. That's why she was fired. In other words, she believes what virtually the entire medical and scientific community believe, and that is that vaccines are an enormously important public health tool which protect the health and welfare of our children and all Americans. It is a bit absurd to have to say this in the year 2025. But let me say it. Vaccines are safe and effective. Let me say it again. Vaccines are safe and effective. That, of course, is not just my view. Far more importantly, It is the overwhelming consensus of the medical and scientific communities. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the largest professional association of pediatricians in our country, representing over 67,000 doctors who treat our kids every day. They called immunizations, quote, one of the greatest public health achievements, preventing tens of thousands of deaths and millions of cases of disease, end quote. That's the pediatricians. The American Medical Association, the largest professional association of physicians and medical students in our country, representing over 270,000 doctors, along with 79 leading medical societies, recently said that vaccines for flu, RSV, and COVID-19 are, quote, the best tools to protect the public against these illnesses and their potentially serious complications, end quote. The World Health Organization, an agency comprised of some of the most prominent medical experts around the globe, representing 194 countries, found that over the past 50 years, vaccines have saved 154.
Así de simple debería de ser. Salir frente a una cámara, mirarnos de frente y hablar con la verdad. Bernie Sanders lo hace sin necesidad de discursos elaborados, frases ensayadas, un teleprompter, etc. Por eso es que conecta con la gente, porque se nota que cree en lo que dice. Ese es el ejemplo de lo que se considera autenticidad. No se trata de repetir de puntos de campaña vacíos, hablar del verdadero problema, de la injusticia real y de cómo se afecta la vida cotidiana de millones de personas. Eso, señores, es la clave. No se necesitan políticos que estén recitando frases de manual. Se necesitan representantes que hablen como personas comunes, que se indignen como el pueblo, que señalen el cinismo y la hipocresía de figuras como Trump. Bueno, amigos, ahora quiero que hablemos del famoso Alligator Alcatraz, conocido por muchos como la prisión de los Caimanes, ¿no? Esta cárcel que fue improvisada en medio de los Everglades y terminó siendo lo que siempre sospechamos, un costoso truco publicitario. Como era de esperarse, ¿se imaginan quién va a tener que pagar esta factura? Los contribuyentes de Florida. Quiero que vean cómo esta decisión política de Trump, cómo este deseo de Ron DeSantis de querer quedar bien con el jefe, está dejando a los floridanos con una deuda millonaria y un proyecto completamente inútil.
On the heels of that, let's bring in Sabrina Siddiqui, national politics reporter for the Wall Street Journal, Shaniqua McClendon, vice president of political strategy at Crooked Media, and former Republican congressman from Florida, Carlos Cabello, now an MSNBC political analyst. Welcome, all three of you. Sabrina, even with Trump losing these rulings, the tariff war is having an impact. India is being pushed away. This weekend, it is cozying up with China. A swath of countries are suspending shipments to the U.S. As a rule, exempting cheaper goods from tariffs expired on Friday. Is the U.S. getting more isolated, and is the Trump administration okay with that?
Well, I think we know that tariffs are really a pillar of President Trump's domestic and foreign policy agenda. And he's been very clear that he believes in an America First platform. So even if the U.S. is becoming more isolated on the global stage, that's not something that this administration has expressed particular concern about. In fact, they see the tariffs as really a show of strength, as Vaughn was saying, designed in part to bring trading partners to the negotiating table. But the key part is who bears the cost of these tariffs and what their impact is, not just in the strategic relationships that the U.S. has around the world, as you pointed out, but also on the U.S. economy. The tariffs have injected a lot of uncertainty into financial markets and the global economy, and then also, of course, raised the prospect of, continued inflation and the prices being borne by U.S. businesses and the U.S. consumer. So while this is all going to be litigated in the courts, I think the big question is who's going to pay for these tariffs and what kind of a role will they play if they remain in effect in next year's midterm elections if Americans are seeing even higher costs because of them?
Good point there. Shaniqua, Trump said if the rulings were allowed to stand, it would, quote, literally destroy the United States of America. Is that an exaggeration? I mean, do people believe these tariffs are truly an emergency?
No, they're not an emergency. I think that Donald Trump and his administration have already taken several steps to lead this country towards its destruction. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I think we're not saying the quiet part out loud. This country is being run by people who are both dumb and evil, and that is not a good combination. Ultimately, it is going to be consumers who feel the impact of these tariffs. And even though this court decision has come down, removing these tariffs is not going to happen immediately. People's kids are going to start going back to school, and the holiday season is upon us. People are going to feel these prices go up, and congressional Republicans are not doing anything to stop Donald Trump, and they are supposed to have the authority to implement taxes in this country. So if anything is going to destroy this country, it's not going to be that he doesn't have the ability to raise taxes on Americans. It's going to be the fact that he does, or he has, rather.
Carlos, regardless of whether you think the tariffs are the right decision, how much turmoil does it put the economy through? And let's focus on small businesses as well, because when things are so unstable and being challenged in the courts, how do they go about doing business?
Alex, uncertainty is a major cost on the economy. Uncertainty makes prices higher for consumers, ultimately because businesses can't make efficient decisions. And the great irony here is that for so long, the Republican Party has been the party of pro-business, of low taxes. You know, another complication that I think this court ruling presents for congressional Republicans in particular, who will have to face voters next year, is that the court said explicitly what people like Senator Rand Paul has been saying for some time, that tariffs are taxes, and therefore this is a massive tax hike on the American family, on the American worker. Republicans for decades have been the party of low taxes. Even under Trump 1, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was a massive tax cut for most Americans. Now we're getting the opposite, a major tax increase by way of this tariff policy. So uncertainty here for the economy, but also for Republicans trying to run for re-election.
Sabrina, regarding the turmoil at the CDC, you say even before the firings, Health Secretary Robert Kennedy's vaccine skepticism prompted panic. Now being down so much staffing, what state is the CDC in? Are they even able to do the job of protecting the nation's health?
There's no question that the CDC is facing a significant crisis. Some of the employees that I've spoken to in my reporting say that this is one of the most vulnerable moments for the agency since the COVID-19 pandemic, when they also weathered a significant amount of political attacks. The public health experts that I've spoken to have expressed concern that really what the firing of the CDC director was about was cracking down on any form of dissent or anyone who was going to challenge HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr.'s anti-vaccine agenda. And, you know, this is coming at a time when Americans are about to go get their COVID shots, their flu shots. There's a lot of concern over respiratory illnesses in the fall. So the timing of this kind of confusion and this kind of uncertainty, the public health experts say, couldn't really be worse. And the question really becomes, where do we go from here? Because, you know, if it's really going to be political people in the place of the institutional scientists at the CDC, then it's really going to further undermine credibility in the nation's leading health agency, and also, I think, make it very challenging for Americans to truly understand what the science is and whether or not they should get vaccinated.
I'll say people will go get COVID shots if they can, if they're allowed to, if they're in those special groups that are able to get them. We don't know about the others. But Shaniqua, Sabrina's article points out that behind closed doors, Trump continues to lament he can't take more credit for the COVID vaccine. So has he put himself between a rock and a hard place? Doesn't merely wanting to take credit for a vaccine create instant conflict with his health secretary? Does it imply Trump supports the COVID vaccine?
Yeah, it does. I mean, Donald Trump got the COVID vaccine. We know that. We know he's gotten boosters. I'm sure there are many people in his administration who publicly are supporting RFK, who privately got these vaccinations as well. There's one thing that it doesn't matter how much money or power you have, you cannot escape illness. And this decision to make the COVID vaccine less available to more people, it's not going to be good for the country. This is, again, another example of Donald Trump really just wanting to get rid of people who don't agree with him and crushing dissent, but it having these additional impacts on American citizens who did not sign up for any of this. But Donald Trump chose to put someone who does not believe in vaccines in office or, appoint him. And then you have to look at Senate Republicans as well, many of which who are, upset now and questioning RFK, but they supported him in his confirmation. And so they don't really have a leg to stand on, but now they are feeling the impact of that decision.
So, Carlos, let's pivot to your home state, Alligator Alcatraz. It could be completely empty in just a matter of days as a judge upheld that decision to wind down operations there. So Florida then means it's likely on the hook, right, for more than $200 million that the state spent converting the facility for detainees, in addition to violating human rights. So the question, did it waste resources in your state?
It sure seems like this was a pretty expensive publicity stunt, Alex. There was never any need to do this. It was never a good idea to put any kind of prison out in the Everglades, an environmentally sensitive area, an area, by the way, that Republicans and Democrats have worked together to restore after many years of environmental damage. So this was always a bad idea. It was yet another effort by Governor DeSantis to try to out-Trump Donald Trump, or maybe to get back in Donald Trump's good graces. And now it appears that it's going to cost taxpayers a lot of money to dismantle this prison or to maintain it as it sits there empty in the middle of the Everglades. This was never necessary. We have plenty of facilities in the state of Florida. We have been processing undocumented immigrants here for decades. Anyone who knows a community knows, right, that this is an immigrant-rich community. So this was never necessary, and now it appears that Florida taxpayers are on the hook.
Lo que acabamos de escuchar, amigos, es la confirmación de algo que ya veníamos denunciando, y es que esta cárcel Alligator Alcatraz nunca fue una necesidad real, sino que se trató más de una jugada política, solo para poder alimentar esta narrativa antiinmigrante de Trump y sus aliados. Pensemos por un segundo en esto. Florida ya contaba con instalaciones para poder procesar a inmigrantes, para empezar. O sea que no existía ninguna emergencia por levantar una cárcel en medio de un ecosistema frágil como lo es Everglades. El resultado es doblemente dañino. Por un lado, se despilfarraron más de $200 millones en un proyecto que al final no sirvió para nada. Por el otro lado, se atentó contra una área ambientalmente sensible, la misma que los republicanos y demócratas habían trabajado años para poder restaurar. Y aquí viene lo más indignante, ¿no? Cuando Trump y Ron DeSantis hablan de querer proteger al contribuyente, en realidad están cargando sobre sus espaldas la factura de sus caprichos políticos. Lo disfrazan de seguridad nacional o de mano dura contra la inmigración ilegal, pero al final lo único que logran es generar titulares para sus campañas, mientras la gente común paga los platos rotos. Algunos defensores de este proyecto seguramente dirán que era necesario poder mostrar fuerza, mandar un mensaje claro. Pero seamos realistas, ese mensaje nunca estuvo dirigido para resolver un problema real, sino para inflar el ego político de Trump y de su círculo. Florida nunca necesitó ese centro. Y lo peor es que ahora van a tener que decidir si gastaron más dinero para desmantelarlo o mantenerlo vacío como, no sé, un monumento al despilfarro. Alligator Alcatraz es el ejemplo perfecto de cómo las políticas de Trump no buscan soluciones reales, sino un simple espectáculo. Y lo más caro de todo este show no es el cemento ni las rejas, es la confianza que se pierde cuando un gobierno utiliza los recursos públicos solo para alimentar ¿qué? Propaganda política, en lugar de salir y atender las verdaderas necesidades de la gente. Pero bueno, ¿qué opinan ustedes, amigos? ¿Creen que proyectos como este son simples errores de cálculo? ¿Será parte de una estrategia consciente para manipular a la opinión pública? Pues bueno, los invito a que me dejen sus opiniones en los comentarios. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarme hasta el final de este video. Recuerden, como siempre, déjame tu apoyo con un like, comparte nuestro contenido y suscríbete a nuestro canal. Nos vemos en el próximo video.